June 1st, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the NinjaTrader 8 platform of the 2000 tick chart. Go down to the descriptions below and you can see timestamped in the video where I took trades as well as where I thought I saw setups. Now I took a total of 4 trades today. It's these boxed ones down here. I won on 2 and lost on 2. So one of the trades, I think it was trade number 3, was a foolish trade. It was a what I call a no reason trade. The trade was basically me having a brain fart, probably FOMO, emotional, and I just jumped on it for no reason. It wasn't a clean setup. And as expected, and rightly so, I got punished by having it as a losing trade. So overall price action today looked like it was in the pre-market. It kind of chopped around, sold off, then it started a very long swinging bullish rally. Looked like they had about 3 good legs, then a consolidation, another 4th leg, and then it sold off, but it ended up higher in the day. I didn't find this giant trend channel until about right around 7:30. I decided to connect these two and then draw it and connect right here, but I wasn't really sure. And for the most part, it didn't really come into play. So I mostly played off of these smaller trend channels as well as these trading ranges. So I'm going to go into the trades right now. So you can see in the pre-market, prices are just kind of look like they might have been in a range. This is my pre-market high and my pre-market low. I've marked them off. So it's in this big channel, big trading range here. I don't trade the pre-market, so I know there are setups in here, but I found them, but I'm not going to discuss them just because I wasn't around to trade them. So right at the top when the market opens, I thought I saw this as a potential trading trend channel coming down. It touched here, and also at one point I was playing with the idea it might have been a little bit more aggressive this way. So originally I was thinking this might have been the channel, but as soon as this one formed down here, and it kind of didn't fit as well. This is where the green one was. I decided to redraw it and I ended up with this yellow one. The yellow one turned out to fit a little bit better on the bottom. It touched a good number of times down here, and the green one and the yellow one also touched pretty good 3 times up here, almost made the top here, and it touched better down here, what I would later find out. So I was looking, I saw a potential 1 leg down, a pullback, and a 2nd leg down. So while this price action was going on, I was expecting prices to come down to here, and as you see later, it does. But I didn't see that at the time, because in real time, I'm just seeing this. Price is open. I don't see a setup. I see a new low, see a first entry short, pulls up, and I see a 2nd entry short. And I also saw 1 leg up, a pullback, a potential 2nd leg up. And I thought it was a measured move, potentially, but it never got there. Now, this is a 2nd entry short, but it's just short of this descending trend channel coming down. Because after this formed here, I decided to connect the bottoms and then I drew the top. And I thought it fit better here, so I played off of this channel going down. I noticed it didn't touch the top. Now, had this pushed up a little bit higher to touch the top, I would have probably taken this short. But since it kind of stopped a little bit short of that, I wasn't sure if it was going to continue to push up to potentially make this measured move. So signal bar here is okay, but it's not, good enough. And there wasn't quite that much room down to the EMA. And I thought, well, potentially the EMA also might hold because it just made this gigantic green bar up and it chopped around and it had this tiny little green bar here. So this is what you would see in real time. 2nd entry short, but then, it's not very convincing. So it at this point made me feel like there's a potential for it to move back up. So I skipped that trade. Prices continue moving down. Potentially, this is a new high, 1st entry long. It's potentially going to set up for 2nd entry long. Still 2nd entry long. So here it's pretty good bullish bar for 2nd entry long. And I decided I was going to take my trade here because I'm thinking this price action is moving down. And I'm seeing a possible rejection of this smaller trend channel right here. So when I saw this, so I made a new high, 1st entry long, 2nd entry long. This is a confirmed 2nd entry long. And I'm thinking in my mind failure because it's probably going to bounce off the EMA and bounce off the top of this descending channel right here. It makes a double top here, comes up, touches again, and finally It flashes down. I'm thinking there's probably a bunch of stops down here for people who are thinking it's going to go long. For whatever reason, they're thinking maybe it's going to go back through because if they count this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long, chopping around, it looks like it's hard for me to tell which side's going to win. But I felt that due to the bearish bias, and it just broke out of this low, there's a potential for it to push down to maybe hit the lows down here. So I decided to take an entry right here, one tick below, goes down, and I get my scalp right here. I try to get out right before this low, but my 6 tick target or 5 tick target was below by 1 tick on here, so I was able to get out. There was, fortunately, it flashed a little bit further through to ensure I got the trade. And prices continue moving. It would have come back up. My stop was up here, so if I was going for 2 points, I would have survived this trade so far. And then down here, I would have for sure have gotten a scalp. Prices continue. So this is my first trade. It was green. It also made I saw a new high here, first entry long, and I'm seeing a potential second entry long forming right here. But I'm also thinking it's bearish again. So I'm thinking for failed second entry long. Here it comes. It makes a new high, first entry long, second entry long, and now I'm thinking it's going to be a failure as soon as it ticks below this candle. So it ticks below this candle. Technically, it's a second entry long failure now, but I wasn't 100% sure, so I hesitated. And I finally take the entry right here, but I got a terrible fill because I hesitated and I chased it a little bit, and I got an entry right here on the short, which isn't the best because you can see that this is the low, localized low of the day, so it's very risky. I also saw potentially, excuse me, this is a new, excuse me, this is a new high, first entry long, second entry long, and it failed. But I also saw a new low here, first entry short, second entry short right here. This green candle makes this second entry short, but then this red candle makes it a failure. So it's a failed second entry short. So at this time, I was thinking the failed second entry long was going to dominate because it's in this big channel. It's bouncing off the top of this descending trend channel here. And I thought, okay, I should have actually taken the trade 1 tick below this guy when it formed, and then I would have gotten enough room to get my 5 to 6 tick scalp. But I took it too late. And as you can see, it flashed back up and I got stopped out. So it was my green trade and it was canceled out by the red trade. So in hindsight, I think I should have just either when this already formed, I should have just let it go, knowing that this was at the low. I probably should just left that trade alone as opposed to chasing it. So kind of a lesson learned. Prices continue moving up. I see a localized resistance up here, but it doesn't come into play after these touches here and it flashes up. Prices continue moving up. I don't see a good entry. I do see a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but this isn't a good setup. It's kind of far from the EMA. It's close, but also the signal bar isn't very convincing, so I left it alone. Prices continue moving up. I have this trend channel established. I also saw a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. Again, this is a terrible signal bar, and it feels a little congested. Plus, they're all making the same highs and getting stopped. Left it alone. New high, first entry long, but that's all you get. And then it flashes through, starts crawling down. Now this is kind of a big correction here. Pulls back up. At this point, this is where I decided I think I see a potential line, a support line right here. It's a little off, but and then I wasn't sure where the top was, so I just drew it here. But as you'll find out later, as I found out later in the day, it didn't really come into play, so it wasn't really that important. So this is where I take my third trade. This is what I call my no reason illogical trade. So I saw a new low here, first entry short, and then it doesn't make a second entry short. It doesn't make any kind of setup at all. So I was just thinking when I saw this leg up, potentially there's going to be another leg up. But there's absolutely no reason for me to believe that. And so I just took this trade, which is foolish. And it's also at the top of this range. So there was just no reason to take this trade. It was pretty much a junk trade. And as you can see, I get stopped out. Then I see a potential new low here, first entry short, second entry short, Now, second entry short is confirmed. It's an inside bar, and this causes this second entry short to fail. So I have a failed second entry short. That's where I enter one tick above. Now I'll admit that this entry is it's visual and it's also a little aggressive because technically you have a first entry short right here. You have a second entry short here. I also saw is one move up, pull back, and a second move up and another pullback. And I'm thinking it failed here. But this is a kind of a doji candle. So this is, a little early. And I just wanted to, I think I was probably a little bit emotional after having this loss here. So taking this was definitely a little early and a little risky. And I should have waited for this candle because this candle actually makes a higher low right here. It actually takes one low here, takes out any potential shorts or traps anybody, and it flashes up. So there's also a hidden second entry long because you have a new high here. You come down, it's a first entry long, pulls back, down to here and moves back up. So it's like a second entry long hidden. So this is actually the candle to have taken the trade on, even if I had to have taken it up here. And was also breaking out of this congestion. So in hindsight, I think when I entered here early, I was lucky because the prices continue moving up and I just held on to it and I was able to get out way up here. However, there's nothing to say on this setup that this would have happened for me in my favor. This just happened to set up just right and let me ride it up. So I was lucky on this trade. So there's a red trade, and this is my fourth trade, which is green trade. So I'm two up, two down. Prices continue moving up. This is a new high, first entry long, technically a second entry long here, but I don't like the setup. Prices continue chopping. It goes into this range. I do see a second entry long here. It's a new high, first entry long, second entry long. The thing I don't like about this second entry long is, although it's a good signal bar, it's in the middle of this congestion, middle of this trading range, so it could kind of make its way up here and flash back down. So there's not enough room to really get a good, clean, safe scalp. Prices continue moving up, chops around, forms this other trend channel, and at this point, I do see a potential one big leg up, and I'm looking for a potential second leg up. Now, in between the trading day, I also drew another leg here, and I also matched it to here. So I saw two legs within this bigger leg. Prices continue moving down. I see a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. At this point, this trend line, trend channel doesn't exist, but I saw that this is a second entry long, but I don't like the looks of this candle. It's it's not doji, it's too bearish, and it's also below the EMA. Now, it's not a good signal bar. If it closed above the EMA and then this one formed, then I would have had more confidence because the EMA also looks like it's holding, but unfortunately it broke below, closed below, and then now it's breaking above. So I left it alone. Prices continue moving up. At this point, off this bounce, I draw this channel and I also put the top right here. And it's clearly an uptrend now. And these candles are really small with really tiny pullbacks by the bears. So I was hoping for any kind of setup or anything to come back and touch this bottom of this channel as well as the EMA, and I would have probably jumped on that trade because it's such a strong bullish move up. Unfortunately, you don't get anything. The closest you get is right here. You have a new high, first entry long, second entry long. Is a good trigger bar, bad signal bar, but it just doesn't quite make it. Plus, it's in this consolidation range now, so I wasn't 100% sure. So I didn't mark it and I left it alone. Prices continue moving up. Now I have a really great channel because it's confirming once, twice, three times up here. Now it's consolidating again. And I saw this. I saw another consolidation. It broke out. This is kind of the first true break of this EMA. Very strong, but it got reversed immediately. So I thought this was a possible fail breakout trade because it's also the first break of this strong ascending channel. And also you'll notice this is one measured move up, one big leg, consolidation, and the second leg up. So it reached the top of this. It has enough room to get to the top of this trading range. So I thought this was a potential trade right here. And my original trading range was here and where this blue line was. And then later I dragged it down to here. But I kept this blue line here just for review purposes. Prices went up. I don't see any good trade set up. And then now it seems like it breaks out the other side. So I see a potential first entry long. So, excuse me, I see a new low here.
I apologize, my headphones, they ran out of battery, so I'm actually using a different pair of headphones. So hopefully the audio comes through okay, and if it doesn't, I apologize. Okay, so as I was saying, there's a failed breakout second entry short here. So I saw not only did it complete the big measured move up here, it also made two clean legs up. So when I saw this as a trading range, although it is counter trend to the overall bullish sentiment, this is a pretty decent signal bar, and it's breaking back into the trading range. So I thought this is a possible trade worth taking here because it had already made two pushes up on the small leg and now two pushes up on this big leg. So it looks like it might be topping out. And although I didn't have much confidence in this giant trading range formed by the two swings at the bottom and potentially two swings at the top, it was just another factor that I took in as a potential localized top. So as you see, it would have worked out, but for whatever reason, I just didn't feel, because there was enough room to make it back down to here. I wasn't, even though the EMA is right here, I just didn't feel confident in taking this trade, but I marked it just so for future reference and also to add to my experience to when I see these more often, maybe I'll trust it more if the context is even better. Prices continue moving down. The chop. So originally this blue line and this top of this line was my trading range. And after this broke out and the second time it broke out, I dragged from this blue line down to here. So I had double touch. And that's also a new low. First entry short, second entry short forms right here, technically. Second entry short, but it flashes back up. So I didn't quite, think it was going to continue going down, plus just overall bullish momentum. So I was looking for a failed second entry short. So technically the failed second entry short occurs right here because it breaks one tick above, but it also came back down. So I'm waiting to see more price action. Now you see this candle, so it's hard to say because even though it's bullish, it's an inside candle. So if you're bullish, you would think, okay, well, maybe it's going to come right back up. But it's also at the middle of this trading range at the midline, so that just gives me pause. I'm not 100% sure what I'm looking at, so I decided, okay, well, there's kind of these conflicting factors in play. It's a good signal bar. There's enough room to the other side, but it's also at the middle of the trading range. It's a little congested, so I decided it's best to just skip this. Prices continue moving up. It breaks out. So right here, I draw these three swings. I connect here, and I connect this top one. And you could say maybe it touched a second time here. Prices continue moving up. I don't see a good setup yet. Technically, you have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, but this is a terrible looking signal bar. This trigger bar is pretty decent and engulfed this entire move back up. And it wouldn't have really gotten you a scalp, so you'd still be in this trade if you took it one tick above here. And then right here, probably still wouldn't have ticked you out. Then I do see a new setup here. Technically, it's a new high, first entry long, potential second entry long setting up. And I also saw this as a potential trading range because I knew there was some kind of resistance up here. I wasn't sure where the support was because I originally had it close to where this midline was, but when this broke out so abruptly, I kind of dragged it down, especially when it broke out a second time down here. So I had these two touches down here. I felt this is probably the trading range. And I saw a potential second entry long setting up here. It's a good signal bar. There's enough room to the top of this trading range. And although it's below the EMA is kind of flattening out, so it's not as important. So I didn't want to take it unless I saw like a higher low confirmation. So it looks like it would have worked out. You do get a higher low confirmation here, but this isn't a very convincing signal bar. It closed right at or below the EMA. If it closed more bullish, I think I would have considered taking the trade. Turns out it worked. Flashes up. I draw this second channel going up. You see I have a double top here, first entry long, that's pretty much all you get. Comes flashing back down, there's this big correction that occurs. There's no real clean way to enter this. It's far from the EMA, it's just coming down now. I drew this as a potential measured move because I saw this as potentially a new high creates one leg down. You can say there's a small consolidation, and it drew a second leg down here. It looks like it made it. However, you could also see it as one big leg down, and that's also how I saw it. So I didn't want to take any trades, or I didn't trust any setup based off of that first assumption of two small legs. And I do see this new low here, first entry short, second entry short, and I'm thinking there's potential second entry short failure because right here on this one candle, not only does it make the second entry short, it fails that second entry short. But seeing this, I felt is a little early for reversal because this is a really, really big move down. It could generate a second leg down to this side, but I don't know that yet because I thought it could push. It had an overshoot on this big channel, which I'm not 100% sure of, so this might not even be an overshoot. But I thought, based upon how I drew my chart, this is a potential overshoot because it kind of touched here, touched here. Now, it doesn't have to be exact, but it's pretty close. And for sure, there's an overshoot here. So I thought it's one push down, potential correction, and a second push down. So taking a failed second entry short to go long felt definitely risky. So I wanted to look for a higher low confirmation, and you don't get it till about here, but now it feels too far away, and plus this isn't a very good signal bar. And if you did take it, it's hard to say you would have gotten filled because I don't think you would have gotten filled on your exit, and you would have gotten stopped out, especially if you're just going after one tick, not one tick, 1 point. Prices continue moving down, bounces off the midline of this gigantic trading range, which again, I'm not 100% sure of even at this point, but it's also very late in the day. Then prices continue moving and it goes into the close. So there weren't too many setups. There were some big moves, and unfortunately, if you weren't early on those entries, you're going to miss some of those moves because they're hard to get on after that point. There were 4 trades that I took. Third one was definitely a foolish trade. I guess it's a no reason trade. It should never have happened. And the 4th trade was a little aggressive and a little early. As I said, I should have waited for the next candle instead of jumping as early because it clearly could have gone against me. It was this trade here where I thought I saw a failed second entry short from here, first entry short, second entry short, failure. I should have waited for this big candle. And then the first 2 trades, 1 win, 1 loss. I think that was just part of the trading. Sometimes you don't win them. So hopefully that was helpful.